Have you ever felt it, not as a thought, not as an idea, but as a strange and almost sacred disturbance moving beneath the surface of your life? Like the quiet shifting of tectonic plates no one else can hear, a subtle trembling that does not shake the world around you but shakes the axis inside you, a movement so quiet you could deny it, and yet so undeniable that it begins to reshape the way you breathe. It begins without your permission, without your intention, without any external trigger. It simply begins, a discomfort that does not belong to the moment you are living. A sensation that something invisible is leaning over your life and rearranging pieces you did not know could be moved. You try to explain it to yourself. You call it exhaustion, stress, burnout. You blame the week, the weather, your responsibilities. But deep down, very deep down, something in you whispers that this is not ordinary, that this is not random, that this is not physical, that this is not emotional, that this is not even mental. It is vibrational. You wake up one day and realize that the world has not changed, yet somehow it feels foreign. You walk through the same rooms, but they feel misaligned. You speak to the same people, but the resonance is gone. You follow the same routines, but your energy no longer fits into them. Everything looks the same, but nothing feels the same. That is how inner transitions always announce themselves, not through visible disruption, but through invisible dissonance. You feel it first in your heartbeat, beating in a rhythm that doesn't belong to the circumstances around you. Then in your breath, shallow, not from fear but from anticipation. Then in your thoughts, wandering toward places you have not yet discovered. And finally, in your energy, withdrawing from everything that can no longer hold you. Your old orbit begins to decay, and you can feel the decay. You can feel the slip, the looseness, the detachment. You can feel the gravitational pull shifting towards something you cannot name. This is the first phase of a vibrational reconfiguration, the moment when your soul begins moving before your mind understands that it has started walking. The part of you that is ancient, the part of you that remembers, knows when the cycle is ending. It recognizes when the frequency you once inhabited can no longer contain you. It feels when the air becomes too dense for your next expansion, and so it begins to pull you forward, even if the rest of you is still holding on to the past with white knuckles. This is why you feel split, as if two versions of you are trying to live inside the same body. One version exhausted, heavy, fraying at the edges, the other version silent, alert, expanding in the background, preparing to emerge. This duality is not panic, it is metamorphosis. Caterpillars do not dissolve in peace. They dissolve in tension, in confusion, in instinctive disorientation, and yet they dissolve because a new form is already encoded inside them. You are dissolving, not breaking, dissolving. The architecture of your old self is softening so that your consciousness can take a new shape. But because the mind only knows how to interpret through comparison, it labels the dissolution as a problem. Why do I feel like this? Why do I feel lost? Why do I feel unstable? Why do I feel disconnected? The mind panics only because it cannot categorize what is happening, but the soul recognizes the transition. It recognizes the subtle pull of a new orbit forming around you, calling you toward it with a magnetism that defies explanation. It is like a planet shifting trajectories under the influence of a greater gravitational force. It cannot remain in its old path. The orbit loosens, the rotation wavers, the balance becomes uncertain, but the movement is inevitable and necessary and purposeful. You are being moved by a force greater than your logic, greater than your habits, greater than your fears, greater than your identity. Something in you, the truest part, has already chosen the path ahead, and the rest of you is simply catching up. This is why your energy feels unpredictable, why your emotions feel amplified, why your intuition feels louder, why the world feels thinner, why silence feels deeper, why noise feels unbearable, why old desires feel hollow, why new desires feel sacred. The space you once occupied in your own life has become too small, and the universe will not allow you to shrink yourself again. so it destabilizes what you have outgrown, not to punish you, but to free you. Each moment of confusion is actually a moment of recalibration. Each wave of restlessness is your system attempting to synchronize with your new frequency. Each spike of anxiety is simply your old identity resisting the expansion already underway. Nothing is wrong, nothing is failing, nothing is collapsing. Everything is recalibrating. You are no longer compatible with your old timeline. You are no longer compatible with your old emotional landscape. You are no longer compatible with your old self. And so life begins to release you, subtly at first, then violently if you resist. This is why things you once tolerated now feel unbearable, why things you once accepted now feel suffocating, why things you once desired now feel meaningless. The resonance is gone, and resonance never returns to what has been transcended. If you are here, hearing these words, it is because you were brought here, drawn here, called here, not by coincidence, but by correspondence. Something in your field answered something in this message. Something in your essence recognized something in these frequencies. Something ancient inside you responded with, yes, this is for me. Because you are not entering a transition, you are already in it. And now it is time to recognize the signs, to see clearly what your soul has been trying to show you quietly. The first sign is already present, woven into your days, whispering through the cracks of your routine. Let us step into it. Maybe no one has ever truly seen what you carry. Maybe you walked for years with questions that no one around you could answer. You didn't arrive here by coincidence. Messages like this are never imposed. They are drawn to the vibration awakening within you. And if something in these words touched you deeply, if it felt less like information and more like a memory reawakening, it means you have always held the key. We are about to reveal what has been waiting for you all along. And from this moment forward, there is no return to the version of yourself you were before. If something inside you vibrated as you listened, press the like button now. That simple gesture is your "I am here," a signal that your soul is listening. And through that single act, other seekers, just like you, can find their way back home. And if you are ready to walk deeper, tap the subscribe symbol below and join this living temple of conscious creators rewriting reality from its true source. There comes a moment in your awakening when something shifts so subtly, so quietly, that you almost convince yourself it didn't happen, yet everything inside you knows it did. A moment when your energy stops responding to what once fed you. A moment when the familiar begins to taste strange. A moment when the world you built suddenly stops feeling like a home and starts feeling like a costume you can no longer wear. You begin to notice it in the smallest places. In the conversations that used to feel comfortable, but now create a silent tension in your chest. In the routines that once grounded you, but now feel like chains wrapped gently around your ankles. In the relationships where you used to pour your energy effortlessly, but now feel your presence evaporating without explanation. Nothing is wrong with them. Nothing is wrong with you, but something is undeniably different. This is the first sign of a true vibrational reconfiguration. You begin to lose resonance with the world you once belonged to, not because you have become better than it, not because the world has suddenly worsened, but because the version of you who once aligned with that world is no longer the one steering your inner orbit. It is as if someone turned down the volume of your old life. The colors are the same, but they feel flatter. The voices are the same, but they echo differently. The faces are the same, but the emotional field around them no longer wraps around you in the same way. You don't dislike anything, but you no longer fit in the way you once did, and the dissonance begins to spread quietly through your days, like a thin crack running through glass, widening one slow millimeter at a time. Nothing breaks at first, but everything changes. You may find yourself standing in rooms that once felt safe and feeling a sudden, unexplainable desire to leave, not because something bad happened, but because something inside you whispers that the air is too dense for your new breath. You may try to force yourself back into old patterns, thinking that consistency will bring comfort, but instead, the discomfort grows. because your system refuses to compress itself back into the vibration it has already transcended. There is a law in Hermeticism that explains this with brutal clarity. Once a vibration shifts upward, it cannot comfortably return to its previous octave. Your energy begins to reject everything that was built around your former frequency. It is not a conscious rejection. It is an involuntary one, instinctive, biological, energetic, as natural as a tree outgrowing its pot. You can feel it in the way your mind tries to follow the script of your past, while your body quietly refuses. You can feel it in the way your heart hesitates before saying yes to things that were once automatic. You can feel it in the way your intuition speaks louder than your logic, guiding you gently toward something you cannot yet see. At first you think you're losing interest in everything, but that's not what is happening. You're losing resonance with the life you built before you knew who you truly were. And this misalignment, this sudden disinterest, is frightening because it threatens your sense of identity. If you no longer feel like the person you were, then who are you becoming? You stand in the threshold between versions, watching the edges of your old self dissolve. It feels like drifting, but it is alignment. It feels like emptiness, but it is clearing. It feels like collapse, but it is ascent. Your energy becomes selective. Selective not by choice, but by truth. Selective not by preference, but by frequency. Selective because you are being recalibrated to environments, people, and paths that can hold the next layer of your expansion. There will be days when you look at your life and feel nothing, not numbness, not apathy, but a strange, sacred neutrality, as if the things around you no longer carry your imprint. This is not depression, it is detachment, the quiet preparation required before a higher orbit is established. Your soul is releasing you, your field is redirecting you, your intuition is recalibrating you, and every fiber of your being is whispering, you cannot stay where you have already outgrown. This is the first sign, the dissolving of resonance, the fading of the old gravitational pull, the quiet calling of a new direction, and even though you cannot see what comes next, you can feel the forward pull rising subtly beneath your ribs, reminding you that something unseen is already shaping your path. And the more you listen, the more you notice something even deeper, a second sign, waiting beneath the surface. Your energy stops tolerating what drains you. But before we step into that, pause here. Feel what is happening inside you right now. Let the recognition settle. Let the truth echo. Because the moment you recognize the first sign, the transition accelerates. If something in this message quietly resonated with you, leave a simple mark in the comments, even a single word, a single symbol, or just a here. You don't need to explain anything. You don't need to commit to anything. It's just a small acknowledgement to yourself, a quiet signal that something inside you noticed this moment. There comes a deeper moment in the transition, a moment more visceral than the fading of resonance, more revealing than the loss of interest, more honest than the quiet discomfort. It is the moment when your energy, your real energy, begins to rebel against anything that pulls you back into what you have already outgrown. Not gently, not politely, not with subtle hints, but with a force that even you cannot ignore anymore. You begin to notice it in the body first, not in the thoughts, not in the logic, but in the raw intelligence of your nervous system. You step into certain environments and feel a tightening in your chest, as if your lungs have suddenly forgotten how to expand fully there. You speak with certain people and sense your energy collapsing inward, folding in on itself as if trying to shield something delicate. You attempt to perform certain tasks that once felt natural, but now your entire being resists with a heaviness that is almost physical. It is not laziness. It is not procrastination. It is not fragility. It is your field refusing to return to frequencies that no longer sustain your evolution. There are places you can no longer enter without feeling drained. There are conversations you can no longer tolerate without feeling fragmented. There are habits you can no longer continue without feeling broken from the inside out. And the strangest part is, nothing external seems to justify the reaction. The room is the same, the person is the same, the situation is the same, but you are not the same. Your energy has become selective, deeply, instinctively, unapologetically selective. You can no longer afford to waste yourself where your soul no longer belongs. At first, this confuses you. You tell yourself, why am I reacting like this? Why does everything feel so intensified? Why do simple things feel so heavy now? But that's the wrong question. The real question is, what is my energy trying to protect me from returning to? Because the more aligned you become with your inner truth, the more violently your system rejects anything that contradicts it. It is the law of vibration revealing itself through the body. Your field no longer negotiates with environments that diminish you. Your intuition no longer whispers. You feel it as pressure in your chest. Your boundaries no longer require words. They manifest as discomfort so intense that you cannot pretend. This is the second stage of the reconfiguration, the collapse of tolerance. You are no longer able to remain in situations that steal your vitality, because the universe cannot elevate you while you are still feeding what is draining you. You might try to rationalize it. You might tell yourself you're just overwhelmed, or stressed, or being dramatic. But the truth is far simpler. Your consciousness has climbed and your old life has not. Every misalignment now becomes amplified, not to punish you, but to guide you. When your energy tightens, it is a message. When your body contracts, it is a message. When your intuition rises sharply, it is a message saying, this is not where your expansion lives. And the misalignment becomes so unbearable that you cannot help but see the contrast, the difference between what drains you and what nourishes you, between what collapses you and what expands you, between what keeps you small and what pulls you into your next reality. You will notice the difference in your breath. You will notice the difference in the speed of your thoughts. You will notice the difference in the heaviness or lightness you carry after interactions. Because once your field begins to rise, it becomes impossible to pretend you cannot feel the truth anymore. There will be moments where you leave a conversation and feel exhausted for hours. Moments where a single place feels like a weight pressing on your chest. Moments where the energy of a person lingers in your system like static. And moments where silence around you feels more nourishing than any company. This is not isolation. It is purification. You are being separated from what is too dense for your next phase. Your nervous system is not overreacting. It is responding with precision to what your mind tries to rationalize. Because your next reality requires clarity, and clarity requires the removal of everything that dims your frequency. Nothing is wrong with you. What's wrong is the life you've outgrown, and your body knows it far before your mind will dare to admit it. When you feel this shift, when your energy stops flowing into certain spaces, when your soul refuses to compress itself again, know that this is not weakness. This is alignment. The transition is deepening. The reconfiguration is accelerating. And the next sign will take you even further into what is emerging. But before we step into it, pause for a moment. Notice what your body has been trying to tell you. Notice what your intuition has been pushing you away from. Notice the places where your energy collapses instantly, because your evolution is not happening someday. It is happening now. There is a moment in the reconfiguration where the shift stops being subtle, stops being energetic, stops being something you can hide behind excuses or rationalizations. There comes a moment when the change moves into the deepest layer of all, the layer of identity. And when it reaches that depth, nothing in your life remains untouched. Not your thoughts, not your desires, not your sense of self, not the story you tell when you look into the mirror. You begin to feel it long before you understand it. An odd detachment from who you used to be, a quiet estrangement from your own habits, a distance forming between you and the old you, as if you were watching a character you once played but can't seem to step back into. It feels like you're shedding something, but you don't yet know what it is. You catch yourself acting differently without trying, responding with more clarity, withdrawing from certain dynamics, speaking less, sensing more, refusing to enter patterns that once swallowed hours of your life. It isn't discipline, and it isn't avoidance. It is metamorphosis, the kind that does not ask for permission. The identity you once wore, the one you thought was your personality, begins to feel like clothing 2 sizes too small, and your consciousness refuses to squeeze back into it. There is a psychological death occurring, the death of the persona, the collapse of the false self that was built from expectations, survival, programming, repetition, and unconscious agreements. And that death doesn't happen with drama. It happens with silence, with a quiet disinterest in your old behaviors, a quiet reluctance to perform roles that no longer make sense, a quiet knowing that you are stepping out of a version of yourself you no longer resonate with. You may look at your life and feel a strange emptiness where your identity used to sit, as if you misplaced the person you thought you were. But that emptiness is not a void. It is a cradle. It is the quiet space where your new self is assembling its architecture. People around you may not understand this phase. Some may say you seem distant. Others may say you've changed. And they are right. You are changing at a structural level. You are no longer motivated by the same things. You no longer chase the same validations. You no longer seek the same forms of safety. You no longer tolerate the same narratives. This is the furnace of identity shedding, the alchemical nigredo, where the illusion of who you thought you were dissolves, leaving you face to face with your essence. You begin to remember, not through memory, but through resonance. The deeper you go, the more you realize that the you you've been living as was only a fragment of who you truly are. A fragment shaped by necessity, not by truth. A fragment shaped by survival, not by essence. And now, that fragment is dying. But its death is not collapse, it is release. And release is uncomfortable. You feel the discomfort when you try to return to your old habits, and it feels like wearing a mask. You feel it when you try to speak in the old tone, and it feels inauthentic. You feel it when people expect you to respond as the old version, and your soul resists with a firmness you didn't know you had. Identity shedding is not graceful. It is raw. It is vulnerable. It is disorienting. But above all, it is necessary, because you cannot enter your next frequency carrying the architecture of your old self. The orbit you are moving into requires a different shape, a different center, a different orientation, and so the universe dismantles what no longer holds you, piece by piece, layer by layer, belief by belief, until only truth remains. You may feel like you are unraveling, but in reality, you are being rewritten. There will come a day, sooner than you expect, where you wake up and realize you don't need to force anything anymore. Your identity will no longer feel like something to maintain. It will feel like something that breathes you. That day is the threshold, and you are walking toward it now step by step, signal by signal, shedding the unnecessary, becoming the essential. You can feel the next sign forming, the distortion of time, the rearrangement of rhythm, the shift that pulls you out of linear perception. But before you step into that, anchor what is happening. Acknowledge the death that is bringing your life forward. Honor the version that carried you this far, and release the one that cannot walk with you where you are going. There comes a point in the transition where the world outside you stops obeying the rules it once followed. A point where time, the most familiar structure in your life, begins to stretch, contract, distort, bend, and pulse in ways you cannot explain. At first you think you're imagining it. You think you're simply overwhelmed or tired or disconnected. But then the pattern repeats itself, and it repeats with such precision that you can no longer deny it. Moments that should pass quickly begin to linger with an almost haunting slowness. Hours that should feel long collapse into a blur. Days vanish without explanation, as if swallowed by some invisible force. And certain experiences, ones that matter, seem to arrive with impossible synchronicity. This is when you realize the truth. It's not your schedule that is shifting. It's your frequency. Time does not move the same for every version of you. Time bends around consciousness, and as your vibration rises, You slip out of the rhythm you once inhabited. You step out of the collective trance. You fall out of sync with the timelines that used to govern your life, and the world begins to feel misaligned. You might notice that the days feel too short for everything you must process internally, or too long for the identity you are shedding. You might feel as if life is happening faster than you can understand, or slower than you can tolerate. You might wake up and feel like a week passed inside your mind during a single night. You might walk through an ordinary afternoon and feel time stop for a second, as if holding its breath, watching you. This distortion is not random. It is the fourth sign of vibrational reconfiguration. Your internal rhythm is separating from the rhythm of your old reality. You begin to exist between two temporal fields. The first is the timeline of your past self, dense, predictable, structured, logical, familiar. The second is the timeline of your emerging self, fluid, intuitive, accelerated, responsive, nonlinear, and your consciousness hovers between them, trying to reconcile the two clocks ticking inside you. You feel the tension every time you try to move through the world the way you used to. Your body wants to slow down while your mind races ahead. Your intuition wants to leap forward while your emotions lag behind. Your spirit feels the pull of acceleration while your identity clings to what is known. It is like living with two versions of time running simultaneously, one pulling you into the future and one anchoring you to the past. And in the friction between these two rhythms, you feel stretched, almost as if you're dissolving across multiple timelines. You might lose track of time, not because you are distracted, but because you are vibrating out of the dimension where time behaves linearly. You might look at the clock 3 times in 10 minutes and see 3 impossible intervals. Too much time has passed, or too little, or the wrong kind of time. This is what happens when consciousness accelerates. You begin to occupy the space between moments. Your internal movement speeds up while the external world moves at the same pace, and the mismatch creates a feeling of disorientation. But this disorientation is not dangerous. It is sacred, because the collapse of linear time is always a precursor to a collapse of linear identity, linear thought, linear destiny. You are entering the territory where life begins to guide you through synchronicity rather than structure. You notice symbols showing up at impossible moments. You notice patterns repeating with mathematical precision. You notice that the right thought appears at the right time. The right person appears at the right hour. The right insight arrives the moment you need it, as if reality were orchestrating itself around your movement. And in truth, it is. Time bends for those who are moving between versions. Time adjusts itself for those who step out of their old orbit. Time stretches for those who are being reconfigured from the inside. When you feel these distortions, when you sense the pull of nonlinear rhythm, when you notice the synchronicities intensifying around you, understand that this is not coincidence. It is confirmation. You are not aligning with time. Time is aligning with you. And the deeper this alignment becomes, the more the next sign begins to form. The moment when the universe intervenes directly, rearranging the pieces you didn't have the courage to move. That is the 5th sign. And once it arrives, you cannot unsee what it reveals. Before we step into that threshold, pause. Feel the distortion around you. Feel the strange elasticity of your days. Feel the way life is pacing itself according to something inside you, not something outside you. This is the border between timelines, and you are standing in the doorway. If you felt the truth of this, not just as a thought, but as something happening in your own timeline, mark this moment in the comments. Write a sentence that names your shift. Something like, "I feel the timeline bending," or "Time is changing around me." Let it be a declaration of presence, a sign that you recognize the stage you're in. And if you can feel that this journey is not just content to you, but a path you are consciously walking, tap the subscribe symbol. It is your way of stepping with intention into the next part of this initiation, the part where the universe itself begins to rearrange your reality. There comes a point in the transition where the universe stops whispering, a point where it stops nudging you gently, stops sending subtle impulses, stops relying on your sensitivity to feel the inner movements. There comes a moment when the universe steps in with both hands and rearranges your reality for you. This is not the beginning of the transition. This is the threshold, the moment where the shift becomes visible, tangible, undeniable. You will know you have reached this stage because things will start to dissolve, not by your choice, but by necessity. The relationships that were draining you will break. The roles you were forcing will collapse. Opportunities that once seemed stable will evaporate. Patterns you tried to maintain will crack open with a force that feels almost external. And here's the truth no one says out loud. When the universe is reconfiguring your path, it removes what you wouldn't have had the courage to release on your own. Not as punishment, but as alignment. You will feel it when a relationship you outgrew suddenly reaches its ending point. Not through conflict, but through inevitability. You will feel it when the job you clung to begins to feel unbearable or begins to crumble under its own outdated architecture. You will feel it when cycles end abruptly, when doors close without warning, when stability becomes impossible to maintain. But the collapse is not collapse. It is redirection. Your old reality cannot hold the frequency you've grown into. It cannot support the consciousness you are stepping into. It cannot anchor the identity you are becoming, and so it falls away. Sometimes gently, sometimes violently, sometimes all at once. At this stage, you may feel like everything is slipping through your fingers. You may feel like you're losing control. You may feel like the ground beneath you is dissolving. But understand this, you are not losing stability. You are losing the illusion of stability. What is leaving your life now is everything that cannot enter the next chapter with you. Every person who fades was carrying a vibration you already transcended. Every opportunity that collapses was tied to your old identity. Every environment that rejects you is responding to the shift in your field. Every cycle that ends is clearing space for a timeline that has already chosen you. This is the law of vibration moving through matter. When your inner frequency rises, your outer life must restructure to match it. When your inner alignment shifts, your external architecture must dissolve and reform. When your orbit changes, everything in your gravitational field must reorganize around the new center. You are not being abandoned, you are being aligned. And alignment is rarely comfortable. It breaks apart what is built on false foundations. It dissolves what was held together by fear. It removes what you clung to out of habit rather than resonance. You will feel moments of grief, not because you lost something true, but because you lost something familiar. There is a profound difference, and as the old world collapses, you will also feel flashes of clarity, moments where you sense the pull of something new forming at the edge of your awareness. You cannot see it yet, but you can feel the architecture assembling itself in the invisible. This is not destruction. It is construction in reverse, the tearing down of walls so the blueprint beneath can reveal itself. The universe rearranges your reality when you are too close to your own life to see what must be removed. It intervenes when your identity resists the change your soul has already chosen. It shifts the external pieces when your internal world has outgrown them. This is the deepest sign of all. Your next phase is not waiting for permission. It is already unfolding. What is leaving is clearing the path. What is collapsing is making space. What is dissolving is releasing you from a timeline that no longer holds your name. And the moment you accept this, the moment you stop resisting the rearrangement, you step into the actual transition. Not the symptoms, not the turbulence, but the transformation itself. Because the final stage is not about endings. It is about entrance, and you are standing right at its threshold. There comes a moment at the end of every transition where everything becomes quiet. Not the quiet of absence, but the quiet of alignment. The quiet that arrives after a long internal storm. The quiet that feels like standing at the edge of a new reality with your breath held in your chest, sensing that something vast is waiting just beyond the threshold. You have felt the signs, the dissolving resonance, the collapse of tolerance, the shedding of identity, the distortion of time, the rearrangement of everything that could no longer hold you. You did not imagine these things. You did not exaggerate them. You did not invent them. They were the markers of a deeper truth. You have already stepped out of your old orbit. And now, as you stand here, in this moment, in this breath, in this new frequency forming through your bones, something inside you knows that there is no turning back. You are not the person who began this journey. You are not the version who doubted the signs. You are not the identity that tried to remain small. You are the one who crossed the invisible threshold. You are the one who recognized the pull of the new orbit. You are the one who allowed the old architecture to fall away. You are the one who answered the reconfiguration. And now, a new rhythm opens beneath your feet. You may feel it as a soft pressure in your chest, as if the next version of you were leaning forward, whispering, guiding, pulling you toward the reality that has been waiting for you all along. You may feel it as a clarity that lives deeper than thought, a recognition that what comes next is not something you need to chase, but something you need to allow, a knowing that the path ahead is already written in the vibration you now carry. The universe is no longer shifting around you. It is shifting for you, with you, through you, and the changes that once frightened you now feel like confirmations. The dissolving that once felt like loss now feels like liberation. The uncertainty that once felt overwhelming now feels like pure space. Space for the new, space for truth, space for the next version of your destiny. This is the moment where the journey becomes initiation, where the story becomes embodiment, where the traveler becomes the threshold, and this moment belongs to you. Take one slow breath. Let it fill you. Let it anchor you. Let it register the truth you now carry. You are not returning to who you were. You are becoming who you were always meant to be. The old orbit has released you. The new orbit has claimed you. And the path ahead is no longer hidden. It is unfolding beneath your steps. What comes next in your life will not be accidental. It will be aligned. It will be intentional. It will be the reflection of the frequency you have stepped into. And know this, you are not walking this path alone. There are others, seekers, creators, awakened minds, moving through the same invisible corridors of transformation, and every action you take now becomes a signal in the field, guiding others, calling them forward, lighting the way. This moment marks the end of one timeline and the beginning of another. Honor it, feel it, claim it, because what you do next becomes the blueprint for the life you are about to enter. If this journey awakened something inside you, if even for a brief second you felt the truth of your own transition rising through your chest, declare it in the comments below with the seal, I choose alignment. Write it not as a reaction, but as an initiation, a conscious act of stepping into the version of yourself that has been waiting just beyond your fear. If you made it this far, you are not here by chance. You are part of a living field of transformation, a silent community of seekers waking up to the architecture behind reality. Tap the like button to anchor this moment into your timeline. Tap the subscribe symbol to step fully into this path. Do it not for the content, but for the continuity of your own awakening. And remember, the next video is not another video. It is the next step of this same path, the next layer of this same initiation, the next turn of the spiral you have entered. Your transformation is not linear. It is orbital. And the moment you choose alignment, the entire universe begins to rearrange around that choice. I'll meet you in the next step. Do not stop here. The spiral continues.